Let's try to understand what are command line arguments in Java. Command line arguments are values that are passed during the runtime. They are passed through the console and can be used as an input. These values are separated by a space. These values can be strings or primitive data types like int, float, double, character, etc. These values are converted into a string array by JVM and are passed to the main method. Let's try to understand command line arguments with an example. Let's try to write our Java program in Atom. Let's try to comment our program. Command line arguments example. Let's try to create a class. We will name our class as command line arguments. Try to save it. Click on Ctrl S. Command line arguments dot Java. Click on save. We'll create a main method. Public static void main string args. Here string args is an array which holds the values that we passed through command line. Let's try to access the first element of that array. We know that array indexing starts with 0. If you want to access the first element, try to access it with 0. Let's try to print the first element. System.out.println args of 0. Click on Ctrl S. Let's try to compile our program. Click on Windows R, open your CMD, try to navigate to that folder. Let's compile the Java program. To compile the Java program, we have to use javac command, file name, no errors. Let's try to run our program. To run, we have to use Java command. We have to pass the class name. Here the class name is command line arguments. Let's try to pass a command line arguments. After our class name, we have to give a space and pass a string. Let's try to pass a string code_daily. Here we can see that code daily has been printed. Here let's try to run our program without passing an argument. Here we are not passing any argument. Let's try to run it. Here we are getting an exception saying that array index out of bounds exception. We are trying to access the first element, but we are not passing any element. So we are getting an error. Let's try to remove that error. Here if we will try to access the element if the size of this array is less than the size of that array is greater than 0. Greater than 0 means there are some elements in an array. So if the size of an array is greater than 0, we are trying to access the element. Else we will print that no arguments passed. Let's try to access the second and third element as well. To access the second element, you have to pass 1. To access the third element, you have to pass 2. Save. Click on Ctrl S. Let's go back. Let's compile the program again. If you want to get previous commands, use up arrow. Let's try to pass 3 values. Code daily, welcome 1. You can see the 3 values. Let's try to run our Java program without passing any values. Here we are getting no arguments passed. That's it for the video. If you like my content, please subscribe to my channel.